Right, we're live, guys. Hi everyone. Welcome to the regular Sunday edition of Spurs Diehards TTID. Tonight, we're going to be talking about another dismal performance by our team. They seem to be never-ending, don't they? We'll get into it, and so we'll get straight into it. So I'll introduce my guests. We've got Brad, who's a regular friend on the show. How are you, Brad?
Oh yeah, not too bad, thanks. A little bit numb after another
Aren't we
loss,
all?
but
Aren't we all, mate? And John, who I've been trying to get on the show for months and months and months, and finally he can make it. And his son's a regular friend of the show, and he's a regular sort of co-host now on Tuesdays with us. So, John, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. My wife and girls are all away randomly in Argentina, so it's just me, and I'm just going to move the camera, and that little man there, who's asleep on the sofa, he's been a pain in the backside for the last hour. He's just finally settled. I'm hoping he'll be good while we do the show. But yeah, another I think pretty much expected defeat. Let's face it, we all thought this was going to happen today, but it still doesn't hurt any less.
Yeah, I mean, it's disappointing, isn't it? Okay, post-match Wolves, people. Wolves 4, Spurs 2. So, yeah. Lineup. John, start with you as you're the debutant, and we're going to get you back again. When you see the lineup, what was your thinking?
I mean, all the conversations in the days leading up to this isn't the game. The game is Thursday. Now, does he go strong and try and keep it momentum to keep confidence up, or does he rest players? I would have loved to see likes of Mikey Moore going in today, but I didn't think he would make wholesale changes. I always suspect he'd make some changes. So I can sort of understand it. Resting Van der Ven makes sense. Porro and Udogie obviously put a shift in on Thursday. Udogie, who I think has been terrible for months, probably since we beat Newcastle 4-0 in December 23. But he grew into the game and was really, really, really good in the end on Thursday, which surprised me.
Yeah,
so I can sort of,
best game of the season.
I think the back four, made sense. Basuma and Sarr, to me, Sarr and Maddison were brilliant at the beginning of last season, but Basuma's just a car crash every game, unfortunately. Sarr's all arms and legs. He's there to be physical. His quality isn't necessarily there. Maddison's a bit hit and miss, and I think that's down to probably who he's playing with a lot of the time. I was really happy to see Tell given the chance on the left. Solanke, I don't think the only real choice he had, I don't think Richarlison's fit enough to start, so it was either Solanke or Scarlett, who I don't think Scarlett was even on the bench, was he? And then wide right, Odebear, has he got a hamstring? Has he not got a hamstring? I think it was probably going to have to be Johnson.
We'll talk about that later, actually.
Because Kulu couldn't start. So when you look at the team, it sort of makes sense. But like I say, I'd have liked seeing Gray in midfield. I'd like to have seen maybe Moore actually because Moore's not had any minutes since he was dragged off at halftime at Villa. I think Andrew's obviously lost faith with him. And there's a few other youngsters, we've got a lot of good youngsters at the club. We saw, you watched the game on Friday, Adrian. We saw young Williams Barnett. He's only 16, but he looks a player, doesn't he? A physical player as well. So does
the left winger Thompson. He looked very good.
Yes, Tyler Thompson. Yeah, there's a lot of promising.
I watched all the under-21 games last year on Spurs play. You can always watch highlights on Youth Football if you subscribe to that, but you'll get other games apart from Spurs and all that. But yeah, so I'm not too familiar with the under-17s. I know Sam Archer wasn't in goal for that game, but obviously Williams Barnett, he scored 2 goals from the halfway line this season, so he's you can see that he's got vision and everything. And for a kid his age, he does look very good, but they are young, so some kick on. I'm sure a lot of them will have football careers, whether it's at this club or not, I don't know, but it's the usual thing. So, Brad, when you see the lineup, what was your thinking?
It didn't surprise me that much. Spence didn't play on Thursday, did he? Apart from right at the end. Mickey Van der Ven is such an important part of our defence that you don't want to risk him. I think Romero probably needs game time. I was surprised. I thought Gray might have been given a chance in midfield rather than right back, but I guess because he's rested the other ones, he's done that. I'm pleased that Tell got a run out. Solanke, I guess Richarlison's not fit enough to start straight away. So the team didn't really surprise me. I've got to the stage now where I don't want to see Basuma in any Tottenham team. So yeah, and that more or less, I was more or less proved right because he was booked within the first 7 minutes of the game. So, he's just so unreliable. Although, interestingly enough, he had a really good shot on goal that was really well saved, and that's our first shot on target in, I think, our last 2 away games before half time. So,
yeah, and he also
what you will.
And he also picked up a booking, didn't he? And
well, that's what I'm saying. It was a needless booking. It was a professional foul, which I personally don't think he had to make. I'm presuming we're going to talk about the game.
We will
later, but the lineup didn't surprise me at all. To be fair.
Yeah, okay, all right. So we got 27 viewers now. We've got a few of you in the chat channel. Only a few in the chat. I get it. I mean, it's a loss. I mean, people are a bit worn down by our form this season, I would have thought. So, Brad, I'll let you start with the subs this time. So, strong bench.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the surprise was that Son and Odeberg weren't there, but when we found out the reasons, that makes sense to me. I mean, I think I speak for all, certainly for myself, but probably for a lot of Tottenham fans. In the league, I'm not even that bothered about it at the moment. Don't get me wrong, I was really annoyed that we lost today and how we lost. But I think we would have to. I think we're 4 points from safety, from mathematical safety, but that relies on Ipswich or Leicester winning. No, I think Leicester can't catch us, but that would mean Ipswich would have to win all their last games. So it would be an absolute miracle if we went down. So I'm not that bothered about our league position or our league games.
Although, as a Spurs fan, that nagging doubt will be in your mind until it's not.
Don't get me wrong. I want to win every single game, but when you look at, I mean, we've got to go to Liverpool, we've got to go to Villa, we've got to go to West Ham. I can't see the way our away form is at the moment. I can't see us getting anything from that. And then our next home games are Forest at home. That'll be difficult. Brighton at home, and Palace at home. None of those are going to be easy games. So I can't see us getting many points before the end of the season. But you've got to look at and say, well, Ipswich would have to win all their last games. I don't think that's going to happen. So yeah. Maybe I should put
the only team below us we've got to play is West Ham away. It's the only team that's below us, but we'll come.
Well, look, it's got to the stage now with our away games, and I'm expecting to concede in the first 5 minutes because at the moment the team they seem to buckle in that for just a little bit of pressure in the first 10 minutes. They seem to buckle, and we'll talk about Frankfurt later, but. I can't. This is why I can't see us getting any points from our remaining away games because we just collapse with any bit of pressure. And I don't think Wolves is exactly a very sort of intimidating atmosphere, but we just seem to collapse. But yeah, we'll talk about the rest.
They've got a good home support in one of their stands. It is very good.
And I think our fans today, were very good. I think I could hear them singing the whole game. So yeah, but the substitutes today, Son and Odeberg not being in there. I mean, the Odeberg thing, that came up in, the famous, the mole at the club and all this sort of stuff. Yeah, it's interesting with Moore, what you're saying, John. Yeah, Villa away, was that the cup game?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting, yeah. I can only presume that he's a young lad and maybe Postecoglou's just protected him. I don't know, but I would have liked to see him play today. But at the same time, I'm glad that Tell got a game. Looking at the bench there, Bergvall, you want to rest him. I think he's quite integral to the team. Although we'll talk about the game later on. Obviously, Kulusevski couldn't start because he's only come back from injury. Bentancur again played the whole game the other night. Udogie is still coming back from his injury. I think he played well the other night. VDV. Yeah, it's as I said, the first 11 and the suspense didn't really surprise me.
Jotting the subs to you, I think we can safely say that most fans would have said that Son and VDV were not starting this game, right? Which makes sense anyway. I actually thought Maddison might not start. Yeah.
Yeah, the trouble is, without Cooley being fit, we haven't got a really replacement for Maddison in the starting 11, have we? No. So there isn't much other choice. He did try more in one of the games earlier in the season in that 10 role. Can't remember when it was. Was it Brentford? Brentford, he played the first half, didn't he, in the middle, I think. apart from that, we are lacking another creative midfielder. And with Sarr and Bissouma, you've got to have someone in there because there's just not enough creativity there. And so there wasn't much choice there. And obviously, Maddis did come off the other night. You know, Kinski could have come in maybe for Vicario. Might have been we'd had a better result if he had started. Otherwise, you know, Bentancur put a real shift in. That was probably Bentancur's best game for a long time on Thursday, I thought, as well as Udogie. So otherwise, you know, fair enough. You know.
There was a rumour going around that Moore's had a knock, right? Because people were getting a bit twitchy about why he getting game time, and he only turned 17 in August.
Well, this is it. Yeah, this is it. It's he's only a kid. Let's be honest.
Yes.
And so the bench to me, and I always thought Kula would be on the bench, and I always thought he'd get minutes. It was just like Ange being quiet in a couple of prens. You pick up on things when you read between the lines. Said, "Oh, they're a week or two away," and you think, "Okay, who's a week or two away? Denso or Kula?" We know Dragson's out for a while, so and we remember the time when he played Romero and VDV at home to Chelsea, which backfired because of injuries, right? No one expected to see them back. So when Ange is quiet like this, and I always thought, Kula will come on this game, he'll get some time. And if he's okay, I mean, I'll bank on him to start against Frankfurt, because you either bring him on with half hour ago and he comes off the pitch, he's still got loads of energy, or you start him from the first minute go, and if he runs out of gas after an hour, then take him off. You know, so that's because I think he's that important. He's been our best player this season, hasn't he? Right, let's move on to the game, right? Okay. Who wants this? 2 minutes. 1-0 free kick. Vicario punches from the free kick. 8-0 hits the ball into the ground. I mean, these sort of shots, all right, he's tried it. He wants to go at the goal, but they can go anywhere. I still think Vicario should have caught this, and I still think he should have done more to get to the second hit as well. John?
Well, I'll start. I didn't see how the free kick was won because I was walking back from. I'd lunch with my parents. I was walking back with him, back from my parents. I just got a stream up and I saw 45 seconds. They had a free kick on the left, and I was like, "We're going to concede here." You just knew it. It was just so obvious to our season that was going to happen.
So terrible.
And then the stream kept like buffering or disappearing, and eventually it came, and the ball's in the back of the net. And then it was a VAR check, and suddenly, it was 1-0. And when I saw it properly, he's got to do better for Vicario. He's got to do better. He's got to hold it. I mean, I know Adrian, you said beforehand maybe he could have saved it was a tough one to save because when you look at the side on the offside sort of angle, Davis was right next to him, almost maybe a bit in his way, so it would have impeded him being able to save it. But he's got to be punched further away, or he's got to catch it. And unfortunately, it's something he does do. He's got, since he's been injured, he's been much better at corners. I haven't been so worried at corners as I was pre. But so whether that's in his head a bit more, trying to punch it, get it away from the area, I don't know. But he made a real pig's ear of punching it away.
Yeah, I did see the foul. A tip for anyone that gets these streams: if you can get a stream from Optus, the Australian channel, it doesn't buffer. The one I watched today, and I watched the Fulham game on an Optus channel, no problems whatsoever, the whole game. Okay. So a little tip there. Although I have to say today cost me a £5 because I had to get like a 48-hour trial, and you got to pay £5 to see live sport. So they've obviously twigged on the people getting the free trial and watching the game. So, but anyway, the foul was Sarr. At first, I didn't think it was a foul. My initial reaction was, "Oh, that's never a foul." But I guess on reflection, it probably was. But again, I don't think it was a foul that need to be made. And we've seen Sarr doing this before. Blame it on youth, maybe, I don't know, impulsive youth. But I was like you, John. I thought, "Oh, this is not going to end good." And the punch was. Well, they always say that goalkeepers should punch, one way or the other, not straight out in front. The shot was just a really nothing shot. But I thought probably
he shinned it, didn't he? I think the commentator shinned it.
I don't think Vicario had a good view of it. But that said, he should have saved it. And when it went in, I'm thinking, because I think when you watch football, you go on your first reactions a lot of the time. my first reaction was he should have saved that. You know, and
if he hits it cleanly, Vicario probably does.
well, yeah, and it was. I mean, I don't know
weird.
what the VAR were looking at. You know, it was again, it was another 2 or 3 minutes, and it's like, well, no, you can tell. Just play. Just look at the replay on TV and tell us nothing. And maybe they thought a player was in his view or whatever it might be. But no, I'm just getting sick of that. But yeah, and suddenly we're 1-0 down. But I'm getting used to that now. And that's the sad thing about it. I'm watching Tottenham play away from home and expecting to concede in the first few minutes. That's not right.
Did you want to say something then, John? Did you want to say
again?
something? Oh, sorry. If you do, right.
The only thing I would say is, why was there no defender anywhere near Ere? Why have we not got someone on the edge? And that's down to the setup of the defensive.
Yeah.
Why? You know, I know it wasn't a corner, but it's near enough a corner, isn't it?
Yeah.
At a corner, you should always have someone near the edge of the box to block down it coming out.
Exactly.
This sort of things happened before to us. Didn't actually in the 2-2 game, but around Christmas, Wolves scored, didn't they, from a free kick where they rolled it across the edge of the box?
Yeah.
And somebody hit it in from the edge of the box to go put them 1-0 up as well. And that, to me, is down to. I know we're going to talk about a number of player mistakes today, including with Vicario, obviously. But to me, that's down to the setup and the coaching, which I know Ange doesn't do the coaching, but he's in charge of it. So why are we not setting up better defensively for these things?
All right, stay with you on the mistakes, John, because on 6 minutes, Vicario's got the yips. His confidence is a bit dented. His distribution has been rubbish recently. We were glad to get him back when Kinski was just starting to look a bit fragile, wasn't he, right? Yeah. So we get Vicario back. We thought, we got our number one back. And now, because I just think the belief and the confidence has just gone out this side. They might be able to give it all in a cup game, but they're just, what was he doing here? I mean, did you remember seeing that?
I don't know. Just trying to chip. He's trying to be all casual and chip it over, and got it wrong, didn't he? And we got away with it.
I think Strand Larson thought the headlights were shining in his eyes. He couldn't believe his luck, and I think that's why he hooked it wide. He's just like, oh, I've got a chance. But he should be waiting for that. He should be waiting for that. So,
he's a decent striker. He should score.
I mean, I have to say, I'm getting really bored of playing that from the back now. It never looks comfortable, and once you make an error, the crowd were on his back, and I think it should have been 2-0. Let's not get away with it. It should have scored, and I think Basuma got booked just after that.
Yeah,
and I sending a message to one of my friends who wasn't watching the game saying we conceded in the first few minutes. We should have conceded the second, and Basuma's already been booked. What a great opening 7 minutes, So, but to be fair, after that 7 minutes, I thought we got back in the game a bit.
Actually, I agree. I mean, like you mentioned. On 8 minutes, John, Basuma brings down Bellegarde, gets a yellow card. I mean, I'm like Brad and most Spurs fans, we don't want him at the club no more. He had 3 suspensions last year. He got done for simulation diving. He got sent off, didn't he? And no.
When Conte was at the club,
you're going to pick up cards in midfield because it's the busiest part of the pitch. But excessive.
When Conte was at the club, I thought he was misusing him, because he'd come on in games and he would, help us. And then I know he was it West Ham away. He didn't track the runner, and then they scored a goal. And I thought, okay. And then obviously the beginning of last season, he was brilliant, wasn't he? He got man of the match in the first 2 games.
Yeah.
And we're like, what was Conte doing? And and he's just. People say it was the Luton game, but actually before the Luton game, he's getting a bit iffy. And then he got sent off in Luton. He got sent off again at Forest. And he's got all the attributes to be a top-class midfielder. So for me, it's got to be mentally. It's got to be mentality. It's got to be, I don't know, I'm not going to say the way he's living his life, but there's something more to it.
We need midfielders that can make things happen, not flat-track bullies that look good when everything's going well for you, And it's just, we just haven't got enough. We haven't got enough aggression in midfield, in my opinion.
I mean, I'm not a fan of the professional foul, but there is a time and a place, and if we're hanging on to a 1-goal lead and it's like 5 minutes to go, take the yellow card, no problem with that. But to do that in the first 7 minutes, especially a player like Basuma, who you can't really trust anyway, and then it wasn't really a necessary. He didn't have to make the foul. It wasn't even the bloke that was. The bloke didn't really have the ball. It wasn't. It wasn't another player. It wasn't a player that was making the run. It was some other one, and he literally grabbed him and pulled him down. So.
And as like you alluded to, Brad, then we had from the 8th minute, we had a good 20-minute spell.
We
because
did.
on the 21st minute, Zuma has a shot. And by the 29th minute, John, I mean, you'd have to go and get these stats because when you look at the eye test, you just think, but we had 68% possession. That's what we had throughout the game, I think.
They weren't troubling us. If I don't think Wolves troubled us the whole game.
We troubled us. That was the problem.
Exactly. And that's
we beat ourselves, basically. We beat ourselves today.
I mean, all right, we weren't.
Not for the first time.
Don't get me wrong. We weren't making their keeper make brilliant saves, or we weren't hitting the post, or whatever. We weren't brilliant ourselves. Basuma's shot was good, and it was a good save. But I think Solanke had a chance, didn't he? I think in that first half, we probably could have done better. I think we had a free kick that Maddison put over the bar from memory. But Wolves weren't troubling us. I can't think of apart from the first goal or set 2 goals. I can't think that Vic had much to do.
No.
So
I know none of our players played well today, particularly, but I thought Tell tried on the left. When I watched him on videos, he has looked good on the left, and I just thought things didn't come off for him and all that on the left and all that. But I think he looked better there. I still think he looked better there.
He seemed to work pretty well with Spence as well.
Yeah,
on that left,
he did get through and get that shot, didn't he? He did have a shot. I don't think he might have deflected off of someone or gone by it.
Yeah, he's shown glimpses that there is a player there, but obviously you've got to give the guy more games and go from there. Whether he's worth 60 million or not, well, that's another question.
Wow.
Well, no, he's got 3 goals now. Yeah, he's not worth that, is he? He's got to show a lot more of buying for money they're talking about. Exactly. And we know that all the money they're talking about is inflated rubbish.
Well, I see another season-long loan next season. That's what I see.
That's a good call, actually. Otherwise, you're looking at probably 40 mil. You're not looking at more than that. We gave that for, it was about 35 with add-ons. People say it was 45. It wasn't. So that was that. But then Vicario, 38 minutes, 2-0, deflected 8-0 cross. Manezzi heads. Vicario pushes the ball against Spence and it goes off Spence into the goal. I mean, it's like
push it away towards the corner off towards the sideline, isn't it? You don't go straight out. You have to go sideways away. It's just basics of goalkeeping, surely, because you're putting it back into the danger area. And it was unfortunate it hit Spence, and it wasn't Spence's fault by any means. But the cross was deflected in the first place. But I'm just looking here.
I just think his confidence, Vicario's confidence, is gone when it comes to catching the ball. But like you said, against Frankfurt at home, he was coming for corners and winning the ball. And this is when he's on his goal line virtually. So what's the difference? You haven't got the run. You haven't got the run at the ball as much, but
I mean, I've just watched it now, and he could have caught the ball. In fact, he flaps at it, because he doesn't know exactly where it is. He's just going like that.
But this is when Tottenham are most vulnerable, is when we're on top.
Yeah,
it's if I see Tottenham, I mean, all right, we weren't creating chances. Don't get me wrong, but 68% possession, we had control of the game. And that's when I get worried, because that's when we look quite safe, we concede, and that's exactly what happened. And you can't blame Spence for it, but it was just, and you watch it and you just get so frustrated by watching it, thinking, well, we shouldn't be 2 goals down, but we are, and it's awful.
Can't argue with Ben's comments.
We'll get to talk about Postecoglou later, I presume.
We will.
And I've been a defender of him, but I can't defend him anymore. But today, it was just I can't remember ever seeing a game where we've conceded 4 goals and there've basically been 4 goals we've gifted the opposition.
Yeah.
I can't remember ever seeing a game
I don't
like
think
that.
any fan's going to disagree with that, Brad, at all.
No.
I mean, like, then the last effort of the first half was the Madsen free kick. Davies heads over the bar from about 10 yards, wasn't it, right? And that was it. Then we moved into the second half. No one's going to argue with the subs of Wonderful. Bergvall, Sassar, Bentancur for Basuma, they're pretty good.
Yeah.
59 minutes, it's 2-1. Bergvall to Johnson. Good cross by Johnson. People say he never crosses the ball, but I mean, he crossed one a day. I don't know how many he's done. And Tell scores. I mean, like, Semedo, he missed the ball when Tell hit it. He come off his back, didn't it, and went in. Glanced
I'm not sure Tell even knew what happened. Just seemed to hit Tell's foot, didn't it? And then flew off Semedo.
Yeah.
It was. I must admit, when
he stuck his foot out. I mean, like, but to try and get something on the ball and score. But it weren't like, oh, where you size yourself up and have a look and decide where you're going to put the ball. It was just one of them, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was surprised it went in actually. When I thought, it's gone in. It's like we don't even celebrate goals anymore. We just get pleasantly surprised.
When it come in, I thought that's going to be cleared straight away. So it's 2-1. We're back in the game.
and look, we'll obviously talk about Bergvall's mistake later on, but that was Bergvall's doing, because he's the one player in this club that gets the ball and carries it. And we haven't had that for a long time, but he does that. And I mean, going back to Thursday night, if that goal had gone in, that would be one of the goals of the season. Because he just, the way he got the ball and got past those two players, and he's the one player that can do that. And he came on.
We're looking for him to get when he gets his first Premier League goal. I hope it is actually at the stadium. I really do, So, So we got to it. It's 2-1.
And you think, great, we're back in. And I'll be honest with you guys. At this time, I thought we're in this game now. I think we might actually get and do this game because Wolves weren't troubling us at all.
No, the difference is though, when you meet a very hard-working side. I mean, it's 5 games they've gone without losing to move themselves out of relegation trouble. But you can be a quality team, but if you're playing a team that's got belief and confidence, they might not be as good as you, but they might beat you. I mean, and this is what happened, and this is what I think's what's happened. So we're 2-1 up, and 5 minutes later, Romero got done by. I can't. I mean, and this is so uncharacteristic of Romero. I mean, those sort of pitches, even with his back to a player, you think, I thought, no problem here. But he'll either turn and get rid of, and play the ball to someone, or he'll give
I'll let John go first, but I've got a thing to say about Romero actually.
Yeah, the case of the Davinson Sanchez is watching the player and not dealing with the ball in that case. And Romero's had not so much recently, but he's made a lot of mistakes this season. He came back after Copa America, probably played too early, played too many games. The first game of the season, he lost Jamie Vardy for the goal at Leicester, and that happened quite a few times early on. But he's got to be stronger there. He's got to deal with the ball and stop worrying about what Larsen's doing. That's what he's ahead of himself. He's trying to think, how am I going to get out of this with the ball and play and progress the attack? And unfortunately, he's not done the basics. And that's cost us because, like Brad said, we didn't really thought we were going to be getting back into it at that point, but we did get back into it, and then it just takes the wind out of our sails completely. Yeah,
I think Romero. Look, we can't get away from the fact he's a good player. That's without a doubt. But I think sometimes he thinks he's better than he actually is, and I know I thought when he gave that ball away, I just thought he was just being too casual, too clever. That's my initial thought of that. And again, we'd had a bit of pressure on Wolves, and they was, the crowd was starting to get edgy, and yet we let them back in the game. And as we'll go on to speak about, it wasn't the first time we were going to do that in today's game. How you doing, Ben? I don't think it's the worst team in the history of Tottenham.
No, the 76,
some pretty bad teams.
The 1976, 77 team, when I watched us get relegated and had to follow us in the second division the following year when Argentina won the World Cup. I mean, that
Oh,
team.
in fairness to Ben, I've probably, I'm older than him, so I've probably seen a lot more teams. That
I'm sorry to say I was born in that 76, 77 season, Adrian. So just up the road in Enfield in Chase Farm Hospital, I was.
Oh,
Well,
right,
I was living in Australia, so I missed it all.
Okay.
This is before the days of the internet and
Absolutely, yeah.
Sky Sports and
I was
Optus
born
I
Sport.
mean,
in
we had a few teams in the
Mother's
90s that were a
hospital in
bit
Hackney,
iffy.
actually.
Do you remember when we had like Nielsen, Sinton, Ruel Fox in the team in the 90s? That was a bit
Yeah, yeah.
I can't argue with the critique and the comments. Not at all. No arguments.
People, I saw, was it Nitas just saying people are still defending Ange? I'm not sure I'm seeing anybody defending Ange now, particularly.
I'm. To be fair, I don't. Well, on face value, you can't blame Ange for today because we gave them 4 goals. But then, on the other hand, who's coaching them? Who's coaching how to defend? So
that's a good question, actually. The old coach. We've got 6 coaches at the club, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You've got Milaj Jedinek, who came from Villa with Lang. I mean, and he seems to be sitting up with the press guys with a laptop, so he's probably getting all the data off the foot player sports bras, getting them in who's knackered, who's not, whatever. Then you've got Nick Montgomery and Sergio Raimondo, who come from Australia, and they managed the Scottish under-21s in Hibernian and got the sack up there. But they're highly rated. I mean, if you weren't rated, you wouldn't get a job at this club anyway. But it's how you perform once you're here that counts. And then you've got Matty Wells, ex-Spurs player, who's head coach because Curtis, as it went to Birmingham, was it?
Davis went to Birmingham, and they're top of League One, aren't they?
Yeah.
So
If they went, and you've got Matty Wells, ex-Spurs as well. Ryan Mason, ex-Spurs as well. So you've got them 4, 5, and then you've got Rob Birch, who's the goalkeeping coach. So there's 5 coaches there and a goalkeeping coach. So Rob Birch needs to do a bit more with Vicario and Kingsley, and for the other coaches. And you see Ange on the training ground. I mean, I see him I see his training sessions before he come to the club, and I see him watching the players when they're training little videos because you look at to see if players are fit and injured or back from injury and things like that, looking for little clues. And obviously you don't see what the press don't see even when they go into private sessions, right? But yeah, you do wonder what the coaches are doing. But having said that, when you're talking about basic errors, you're not coaching that, are you? Because players shouldn't make those basic errors. I mean, Romero shouldn't make these mistakes. Vicario with a couple more, and he made mistakes in the game which could have cost us again. And then you got, unfortunately, for Bergvall as well. Right, that's the subs. That was 2-1.
I mean, how many times do you see a team struggling, and Spurs are struggling in the league, and they do make these mistakes after mistakes? And it's just, sometimes you just need a fresh voice. And I think as much as anything, we know Ange he's the type of manager like Redknapp or even Ferguson who he doesn't coach the team directly. He manages. We know he speaks in small sound bites to the players. He doesn't actually get involved with the players or coaches. I think a lot of people have made the good point. There is a problem with our coaching team because Ange directs them, but doesn't seem to give loads of input from what we get. And they're all quite inexperienced. If I was thinking about this, Ferguson had Steve McLaren was a really highly rated coach. Forget what you think about him as a manager. As a coach, he was really highly rated.
He was, yeah.
He put Carlos Queiroz in, didn't he? He had Archie Knox, all these different experienced coaches who worked with him. Ferguson would half the time sit in the cafe, I think, and watch training. He would never get involved in it. Brian Clough didn't coach the team. I mean, I know he did years and years ago, but certainly in his last 5-10 years, he didn't coach the team. And, Redknapp had, who did he have? He had Bond, he had Joe Jordan, the guys he trusted who knew what he wanted to do. And half the time they helped him with the tactical stuff. They worked as a team. And Ange doesn't work like that. And I think this is part of our problem. We haven't really got anyone who's taking control and saying, do this and do that with even just saying set pieces or the patterns and play. And I really struggled how Ange ball is ever going to really work if there's no one really leading that to implement it, unless there's more to it that obviously we don't see.
And even when you look at the past, I experienced Nicholson, but like when you went to Birkinshaw afterwards, right? And you knew that he was like innovative as well. Then even when you went to like Venables, like you say, even Adelaide Dealey's, they might not have been successful at Spurs, but you knew they had it. They knew their football, and they were innovative as well, right? Our Dealey's was too attack minded for Sugar. Got the sack, did well when he went out to Japan. Anyway, won trophies out there. You look at Hoddle, innovative manager, goes to Chelsea, manages England. Venables manages England, with an exciting team, adopting 4-3-2-1 Christmas tree formation against Holland. We spanked them 4-1 in
I was there.
in 96, in Euro 96, and then you got Martin Joe and you got Poch and all that, and you can the managers. Why this goal goes down to leaving the board? Why they can't see what the Tottenham's football DNA is, and it includes the managers, not just the players, to bring someone in who's got that profile or as close to that profile as possible. I don't care if we get a stranger in when Ange goes, as long as he's got the right profile. Because I don't like this. Only like one.
I don't think our board has any football knowledge whatsoever.
Yeah.
So that would be a help if you had people on the board that had actually had a bit of football knowledge. That could.
That's supposed to be the director of football, effectively. So Langer, obviously, Munn came from the City group, but it's interesting. I know you want to come to the new appointment later, Adrian, but he's obviously worked at Arsenal for 14 years, was it? And he's bringing something. How he affects Munn's role is going to be interesting. Does it mean?
Yeah, well, I hear that he's very good with the fans. This new guy, he likes to get the fans involved, and he wants to hear what the fans think. Which, let's face it, we haven't had that from any of our board.
Oh, the club are tone deaf, so it is going to be interesting.
So that'll be interesting. I remember. I can't remember who said this, but apparently, obviously, there's the rivalry between Tottenham and Arsenal with the fans and the players. But apparently, at an executive level, at like the board and that sort of thing, they're very close to each other. There's no rivalry there between the two.
We'll talk about him a bit later.
Can I just tell you a little secret I know of?
Go on.
The chairman's suite at Tottenham, and this is obviously backfired in recent years. In the gents' toilets, there is a tiled wall with Minds of the Gap logo on it. Because obviously, for a number of seasons before the stadium was built, we were ahead of Arsenal.
Yeah, right.
Obviously, I think that goes towards the banter.
So 5 minutes after we made it 2-1, this happened 6 months. Romero error we talked about, and Strand Larson scores from close range. You couldn't make it up, could you? 3 gifted goals so far.
And worse to come.
Well, then worse was to come, because in 70 minutes, Davis brings down Manizzi, yellow card. Then 75, all right, Richarlison gets 15 minutes, doesn't he? Does score eventually. So, Solanke, Maddison for Kulusevski, fair enough. I was glad to see Kulu come on. Knew the game was gone, but
I think that's resting Madders and getting Kulu some minutes before Thursday. And Ange said that afterwards, that Kulusevski and Richarlison will both play a part on Thursday and will be important. So,
yeah, well, he's got to go for it. So then on 85 minutes, 3-2, Bergville corner, Davies flick header, Romero powers at goal, and then Richarlison gets the ball bundles and makes the ball over.
Decent goal.
Yeah.
He has got a knack of scoring goals. He can't stay fit, but he's got a knack of scoring goals. Yeah. That's the thing.
Well, there's others out there think that he's more effective to having a team than Solanke is, but
he can't play. He probably won't play full 90 minutes ever again for us.
No, I think you're probably right there. And at that time when that goal goes in, I went, right, we're back in the game. Don't concede another goal.
Yeah.
That's what I'm watching it by myself, but that's what I'm shouting at the screen. Right, we're back in this. Don't give away any more silly goals.
But a minute later, John, Bergvall loses the ball. Kuna evades Davis' sliding challenge, and then Kuna powers into the box and easily beats Vicario.
The trouble is when you're streaming, you get the WhatsApp messages beforehand, don't you? Because you're on some sort of delay, and when you know someone that's sat in the stadium and they just put FFS, you know it's gone wrong already.
I mute my notifications, John.
Yeah, I do normally. I just happened to look, and so you knew it was coming. But then they were playing a stupid replay, so you couldn't even see it until Cunha was through.
Exactly.
And, I don't blame. Bergvall's just got it wrong. Unfortunately, Cunha's got this knack of nicking the ball. He did it to Romero in the Argentina-Brazil game recently. He's very good at doing that. And Bergvall normally does glide past players in the midfield, and he's looking to move the ball quickly to get it out wide so we can attack. So I don't blame him too much. And he is 19. If it was Basuma, I'd be going for him big time because he's an experienced player. But Bergvall he's 19. He's very inexperienced. He was involved in both goals for us, so I'm not going to be too harsh on him. But it's a learning experience for him, hopefully.
Well, the thing was,
Evening, David.
Yeah, the thing was
Evening,
that you're right. What you're saying about the stream, John. We get a free kick, and I'm thinking, oh great, we got a free kick, and then they're showing replays, and then next minute, the Wolves guy's on his way towards goal and scores. I'm going, what the is going on? And
evening, Ryan.
Again, this comes down to the fact of the passing the ball around. When it's 5 minutes to go and you're 3-2 down, when you get a free kick there, just press it forward. Why are we passing it around? You know, why are we doing that? Get it forward. And look, it was a mistake by Bergvall, and you could tell he was absolutely gutted. Absolutely gutted. If you watch, there's a clip going on YouTube of the players.
He punches the ground, doesn't he?
Yeah, and they're all going up to him. He was absolutely gutted. So, but he was the cause really for the second goal we scored. So, yeah, he's young, so I wouldn't blame him. But what I do blame is why didn't we just get the ball forward? Why do you have to pass it around and then get it forward? I don't. We don't
tend to lump it forward, though, do we? It's just
we don't. But at 5 minutes to go, maybe you should. You know, it's like put the pressure on them, put the ball in their box, make them worry about it. You know, and it just and I, as you say, John, we didn't see the mistake initially live. And I'm just shouting at the screen, it was our free kick, how we conceded. And
the question is, Davis was booked already. Should Davis have brought him down and got a second yellow or even a red, knowing that there's 3 minutes left and we're still in the game?
Yeah, maybe.
Romero's nowhere. The fullbacks are pushed forward because we've got possession.
Yeah.
And it's again, this is what we do. We get caught in possession, the same with the Frankfurt goal on Thursday. Get caught in possession, all the players are too far up. And we're just on the back foot. We're struggling because there's no insurance policy. There's no Eric Dyer sitting in the sixth role or anyone like that. And it's a problem with the system. It doesn't work.
We used to do under Pochettino, didn't we? We used to do it under Pochettino. We had Dyer would sit in that place in front of the back four or the back three or whatever.
Fullbacks go up.
Yeah.
What I've seen in the last couple of games, what I was quite pleased to see was when he's playing Bentancur, Bergvall, and Maddison together. In the last couple of games, they started to gel a little bit. Did you see the signs of them gelling a little bit? Because you're playing a regular midfield three. If you're playing a regular 2 out of 3, but we look disjointed and lack cohesion whenever we chop and change it. I mean, you've got to have at least 2 of those midfielders sort of. They're not going to play all season, but I mean, like, you want a regular to build the confidence as people come in, and they're confident players as well. But we're not playing with belief and confidence now. It doesn't mean to say we can't go out and produce a good result, because you're going to freak one now and again, no matter how poor you are. Even teams down the bottom, I mean, they do it. Game management, well, I mean, you can blame Ange for all of this, but when you look at those errors, when you see those errors, I mean, like, I just think, well, what can you do as a coach when that happens? All right, you could critique his team selection. That's fair enough, right? And say you did that. And listen, both Spurs most Spurs fans wouldn't have minded that today. Let's be fair. If the likes of Sonny had played and VD had played and they'd got injured, you could imagine the outcry, couldn't you?
Of course,
So
yeah.
We're in a situation where he's damned that he does and he damns that he doesn't. So we just got to hope that we get the win on Thursday, which we'll come to.
Yeah, I personally, and I'm not, Angie's, I don't think he'll be in next season. And I'm probably behind that, to be fair. And I was always a 50-50 guy with him, but now I'm 60-40, 70-30. But today, I don't think you could maybe you can criticise the team selection and substitutions. Well, no, you can't really even criticise the substitutions because two guys he brought on actually created 2 goals. So, one created one and one scored one. But today, as I said before, I've never seen us gift 4 goals to an opposition that, and I'm not saying we played any better than Wolves today, but they didn't really trouble us.
Yeah,
we gave them 4 goals.
The stats will surprise you. With me, I think I'm alluding to what you two have alluded to earlier. I mean, if Ange goes in the summer, which is looking pretty odds on, the coaching staff should go with him.
Oh, without a doubt. I can presume we'll talk about this a bit later. It needs a complete again.
Have a look at the stats to back you up, Brad. I mean, I looked at the game. It's the usual thing. Look, stats. They had 38% possession. We had 62. They had 5.
Depends what you do with it, though, and where you have
4. We had a total of 13. They had to our 11. They committed 12 fouls to our 15. They had 1 corner to our 4. They had 2 offsides to our 3. They had 90% to 8. They had 28 clearances to our 11. And when you look at that, you think, how's that possible, right? Passes, they had 341 to 500.
Adrian, this is the whole season. This is the whole season. We are, we were second, I think we're probably third. Top goal scorers in the Premier League. And we're sitting in wherever we're sitting.
Yeah.
That to me says it all.
And then we're looking at accuracy, 81%, 88%. And then this is why stats, they're only a guide. They're only a guide. They're not written in stone. People will quote them if they want to force a point of view, right? And they'll be very selective on which stats they pick. But even when I look at this, they had 9 crosses to our 23, right? I can't recall 23 crosses. This is where on the eye test
they're all low, Adrian.
But again,
low passes across the box, aren't they?
Yeah,
they're not as I think crosses in the air normally, isn't it?
Yeah.
These are just these low pullbacks and things like that. A lot of them, so that's why you don't necessarily register them or they get blocked. They're probably crosses gone in, and half of them between those clearances. Our quality of crossing is one of the problems. Possession. Where have you got possession? Is it just Romero and Vicario knocking it around at the back? Are you actually progressing it? And I think 15 years ago we saw the stats were who scored and maybe shots on target. But now things are progressing, and maybe another 10, 15 years we're going to have more of possession in each third of the pitch or quarter of the pitch more often than how many progressive attacks.
The other thing is that the goal that Tell scored was a great Ange football goal, and it was very well executed, but that seems to be the only way we score these days. You don't get many goals that aren't like that, and that to me is a worry.
We scored a lot of goals, haven't we? But our front line's clunky, isn't it? There's no sort of fluidity or cohesion there. It's sort of like, let's get the ball forward and just hope we create something, And it's like we're waiting for the opposition to make the mistakes we make during a game to score rather than trying to make things happen. And this is why you want strikers that make things happen. I mean, like Davy Irish was being very critical of Solanke on his show. And I sort of half in agreement with him because I think Solanke's done well with 11 goals and about 8 assists for his first season with us. But he's right. For that sort of money, if it is 65 mil with the add-ons, you expect more.
He was doing well before he got injured, but he hasn't found any form since he's come back. He needs a goal, basically.
11 games.
And again, when you look at Son, right, or Johnson, come to that, who actually has been tracking back a bit recently, which has surprised me. Like, he actually worked a bit hard. He worked hard a day, actually, in fairness to him, but they're all crap, right? But you look at it, when we get the ball out to the wings, because we move it slowly, Son receives it with his back to goal. Now he's either got to beat a player on the half turn, or he's got to pass it back. Johnson's the same. Whenever they get the ball, they got 2 men on them. Now, the opposite is when we're away to Ipswich, when Archie Gray slips that forward ball to Sonny and he's on the run, brilliant. When Bentancur did it in the same game and Son's on the run, he's got 2 assists. That's where he's effective. We're not transitioning the ball quick enough to get the best out of Son or Johnson, come to that, because Johnson's got, 16 goals and 3 assists?
Yeah, you're right. The way to beat Tottenham is either cut us through the middle, or when we're a bit tighter at the back, is to switch it quickly. And it drives me nuts that half the time we don't do that. Now, one of the things Højbjerg used to do, for all Højbjerg's faults, and I wanted him gone, his game management was something he was good at when he came on the pitch. But he would come on and start spreading the ball wide because he knew we had to stretch the opposition. And for some reason, we just do 10-yard pass, 5-yard pass. Madders looks at it. Far more effective.
I know we scored a lot of goals. I think we'd be far more effective because when the wingers are wide and they go that down at the byline and people screaming, cross the ball, there's no one in the middle, right? So I actually think that if you had Solanke sort of at the centre of the outside of the penalty area, the opponent's penalty area, and the wingers were at the 2 outside edges of the penalty area, the box, what they call the close space, right, which is where the angles of the penalty area are, then you would narrow the space between players, because that's what Decky does every time he wants to cut in on his left. He's always trying to get in a close space and narrow the distance between him and a striker. So if Solanke's there, you can play it off him. He either turns and shoots, or he lays it back for a attacking midfielder or the other winger coming in to get a shot off. And I just think our wingers should play. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, well, Ange, if the wingers aren't being as effective as you want, move them in. And then Porro and Udogie can come wide and overlap on the wide positions, because Porro will come in, and sometimes I think they're getting each other's way when Porro cuts and inverts. Whereas Udogie, he seems to link up better with Maddison and Son, because Maddison either plays central or he drifts to the left if he ain't dropping back to pick the ball up, which I don't like to see. That's what's good about Frankfurt, because Bergvall was dropping back to pick the ball up, but it was a different starting 3, wasn't it, in midfield? That was a difference. So, that was that. So, private chat. Okay, Brad's just nip into the boys' room. Fine.
Can you put up Yvonne's comment at 9:49?
9:49. Yes.
Two above the one you put up from David's. I think we all pretty much in our heads wrote this game off. I said at the beginning, we wrote this game off, but obviously you don't want to lose anyway, and it's how you lose, and that's what's frustrating. I did find it interesting that Ange's post-match comments were, we haven't made mistakes like that. Well, I'm pretty sure we have made a lot of mistakes.
Loads in a penalty area. We had loads of chances to prevent goals in the penalty area.
Thursday, I know it was in Frankfurt's half, but Madders lost the ball, and they spread, and Porro didn't defend properly. Romero just stuck out a leg half-heartedly, and it was a really good finish by Ekitike. But we make a lot of mistakes, and at some point, I mean, all the time under
and it's where in the phase of play you want to blame someone. And if you don't like a player as a Spurs fan, you're going to blame the player you don't like, rather than, the whole build-up and the transition where you lost the ball and the other team had transitioned and scored, Yeah, even with me on this, I mean, good question. If it matters to me, because what we want to see towards the end of the season, even though there aren't that many more games to play, is you want to see growth, to give you hope for next season. And you want to see if you might as well put some youngsters in now, and you want to see them develop and see if they are ready to play the games. I know Mikey Moore's ready, and he can play that, but he could play ball carrying midfield. I mean, he's right-footed, but likes to cut in on his right from the left. But even in the under-21s, he's played on both wings. He could play. I know, as John alluded to, who said he played him in midfield for one game. He can play there, though. But until someone's played there, I mean, you look at Spence at the moment. Everyone says he should play on the left. When Leeds played Arsenal in the Cup and he played in midfield, at Chelsea rather, he bossed the midfield.
Gray.
right? But you're going to have to wait, and you won't be able to judge Gray on one game in midfield. Like, you can't judge Gray as a right fullback just because we've seen him play well. I'm pleased he can play well on the left, but I'm confident that Spencer, I'm confident he can play well on the right, and I think on the right is where his true position will be, and we need to bring another left back in. Yes, it does matter, Yvonne. Yeah, I think it does matter because you want to see growth.
Just commenting on what Yvonne says there, I tend to agree. The only thing that matters that I think today worries me is our inability to play away from home and to look very, really shaky in the first 10, 15 minutes of any away game we play. But we win at Frankfurt, which again is up in, that's a matter of opinion whether we're going to do that or not. We win at Frankfurt. We all forget today.
I think Frankfurt played within themselves on Thursday, and they played within. I mean, I did the Cheese Room audio pod on Thursday night straight after the game, and Seb on there. I was saying, look, it's going to be a really big atmosphere there, and he said, oh well, he obviously doesn't follow much of German football because German grounds are a bit mental, basically, aren't they? They are so loud.
Yeah.
But traditionally, I remember Alan McAnally telling a story when he was at Bayern Munich, one of his first European games. They won 3-1 away somewhere, and they just played a 0-0 draw at home. And he was like, "Why is no one really trying to score here?" And he was like, he was deflated they hadn't won the game, and everyone and all the other players were delighted. And he was like, "I don't get it." He said, "Well, we're through to the next round."
It was very interesting to see their players. Yeah. Their players at the end of the game on Thursday were celebrating in front of their fans like they were already through.
Right.
And so, so they obviously went there with a plan. Although, to be fair, I think you should video that and show the Tottenham players in the dressing room before the game. Because my reaction at the time was, you arrogant bastards. Well, I probably said a different word to that, but yeah. Because
they saw themselves as the underdogs in that game. I mean, HG from our channel is he follows Frankfurt. He lives in Vienna, but he follows the Bundesliga as well. And he said he'd been looking at a lot of the YouTubes or even the previews and some of the forums, and they all thought Spurs were the favourites, which he found quite funny because of the form we're in at the moment. So yeah, quite interesting. Hopefully we'll get something like the performance we did on Thursday night, and we can actually defend.
I mean,
it'd be nice if we can defend, not making stupid mistakes again.
We've knocked Frankfurt out of Europe twice before. Not that it makes any difference this time, but it's nice to have that in your history. We knocked them out of Champions League. We knocked them out of the. I don't know if it's a cup. What is a cup or the Europa League?
It was Champions League. That was in the.
Waddle scored away, so
yeah.
And we went through 3-2 or something like that. I'm not sure.
I think Son scored from a volley, didn't he, from memory?
He did. Yeah, he scored twice.
And well, you'd look at Frankfurt and think, all right, they sold Marmouche, didn't they? And you sit and you're thinking like, oh yeah, that they can play better. But you'd expect them to play better there at home. I thought, we were looking a bit like our old selves against them, but we still weren't full flow when we were at our very best.
Oh, and the second half was good. The first half wasn't. It was,
Yeah, we had a 10-minute spell where it looked like we were going to score every time we went forward.
But I just look at, we've been to Galatasaray, we've been to Glasgow Rangers, even AZ, and we've looked intimidated.
Admittedly, we had Lancashire up front. He got sent off. We lost 3-2. We could have lost 6-0 there or something like that. But we didn't. But we didn't.
Yeah.
Like, this was early stages where league points were more important because we thought we'd walk through this competition, which we struggled.
I just don't like how we performed in these away games with big atmospheres. I just, I mean, Rangers aren't exactly brilliant. To be fair, we did fight back, I guess, and got the draw. But I just don't like.
Are you looking forward to penalties on Thursday?
You wouldn't surprise me at all.
We've been through the mill. It could
the way that keeper played, he'll probably save all 5 of ours.
But he was their reserve goalkeeper. Their number one goalkeeper. Supposed to be back for Thursday.
How many times has that happened over the years, though? A goalkeeper has a worldie at Tottenham.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And they'll be terrible every other game. I mean, Frankfurt won 3-0 today, and they made quite a lot of changes.
Did they?
They only played Hadenheim, I think they played.
Yeah.
So they had a fairly
I think they'd be very well confident on Thursday night.
Well, on the subject of Thursday being like, it will signal Ange's tenure at this club if we don't get a result. Obviously, I don't think they'll sack him before the end of the season. It will just give the board, if we go out, they'll be, marking the cards and speaking to agents and agencies about managers out there. We've been linked with 10. Southgate, Silva, Frank,
John's not on there, everyone else on there.
Areola, Inzaghi, Xavi, Lopetegui, Glasner, and Motta, who's no longer with Juventus. Glasner seems to be the popular one now because Palace have in the semi-final and things like that. If I go first, I'm picking any of these because, like I said about managers I've seen that are good in the past, I'm picking Xavi because he was constrained when he was at Barcelona, a bit emotional and passionate he is, but he brought Lamar on, didn't he? And because I want a manager that's not frightened to play youngsters as well, especially we got such a good crop, and he would do the job. Well, we could get him. I might be in dreamland. Maybe we couldn't. I don't know what he's doing now. Lopetegui was good when he was. He then he took the Spain job or left the Spain job for the Real. Was it one of the Real jobs or something like that? He's not bad, but he's gone to West Ham. If that ain't going to,
he wasn't great at Wolves either, was he? He made, he won a few games at Wolves, but it was all 1-0. It was very defensive football, the same as it was at West Ham. It didn't suit the Premier League.
Yeah, Brad, do you like any of these?
I mean, some of them I don't really know that well, to be fair. What I will say is that Frank is an absolutely amazing manager and has done incredibly well at Brentford, and deservedly so. But managing Brentford, and this is no offence to Brentford, managing Brentford and managing Tottenham is a completely different thing. And this is why about Areola and other people have managed. The Tottenham fans, rightly or wrongly, expect a lot of things. And Frank will be very, very good at being quite pragmatic. But you know what's going to happen? After 10, 11 games, the fans are going to say, oh, we want to Tottenham back. This is rubbish football. I've said it that many times before.
I think the Brentford and Wolves are very similar in style, to be honest. They're just hard-working.
Yeah, Silva, I suppose has he done much, really? He did a bit of Watford, didn't he? He's had Fulham.
I think he's made Fulham a pretty much stable Premier League team.
Yeah, he has.
He's done well there.
You know what Tottenham are like, what our fans are like. They don't want a stable club. They want a club that's going to win things. And I don't know. To be honest, I don't know much about Inzaghi, Xavi. I mean, if you find Lopetegui was at West Ham, he didn't do a pretty good job there, did he? Glasner, to be fair with Glasner, he's done pretty well with Palace. I mean, they were look pretty poor, and he's got them. Well, he's got them above us, hasn't he? Really. Motta, I don't know a lot about. If there was a manager out there that I really, really, really wanted, that I think, that's the guy for Tottenham. And we get knocked out by Frankfurt. I would sack Ange and bring that manager in now, so you could literally look at the rest of the season as almost being like a pre-season, so you can see what the players we have are like, and then when we go into the summer, you can say we want this player, that player, whatever. But I can't.
This at you then. If we win the Europa League, do you keep Ange for a season and go for Poch after the World Cup?
No, Ange. I think Ange is gone. Whatever, even if we win.
I think he is.
I think Ange will. If we win, even if we win the Europa League,
I think he'll quit.
I think he'll quit. Yeah, I do.
If he can arrange a compensation package, he's not going to throw away 10 mil. But
I think it's quit. I mean, no matter what you think of him, what anyone thinks of him. I think he's a man of principle, and I just think he'll. I honestly think he's ambitious. I really think he's ambitious, but he's just. And I don't like using the word out of his depth, because who am I to say that? I've never managed. I mean, I might imagine under 11.
A lot of managers now, I think they're more concerned with keeping their jobs, and they adopt a defensive strategy rather than being innovative and going for it, like a Venables would, or someone like that, or Ardle. all of these, I mean, like even Inzaghi, Italy, you know what you get. Xavi's a bit different. I mean, he's the only one to pick. I don't know if we'd have a chance of getting him anyway, but
I wouldn't. You know what? The manager I wouldn't mind seeing at Tottenham just to see what happened, and it ain't going to happen. Is Ancelotti, who's at Real Madrid.
Out of all these, if it wasn't Xavi, I know this would be going down the age route. I'd rather have Bielsa than most of these on this list.
Right. Well,
I mean, he was a mentor to Poch. You know,
yeah, but he didn't do a lot with Leeds, did he? Like,
no, if you brought him in for a season or two, if you can't get a manager or a good manager isn't there or hasn't been sacked, and you need, although we shouldn't be looking for a stopgap with Tottenham Hotspur, and you need a manager in, you could bring Bielsa in. I mean, like for a couple of seasons.
Yeah, but what's going to happen? It's going to be exactly the same as happened with Ange. We're playing really, really attacking football and concede a lot of goals, and everyone will moan.
I mean, ultimately, what you've got to do is tighten us up a little bit at the back, but you can make small tweaks to change it. It doesn't. We don't need to go all bloody Sam Allardyce, do we?
Yeah.
You can actually.
Well, he's
just
available.
Some little tactical changes will make a big difference.
Yeah.
The interesting one about Xavi is, do you remember we were linked with Luis Enrique, and a lot of Spurs fans said, "Don't want him, don't want." And I wasn't sure, and I was like, "Yeah, I'd probably steer clear." He's not doing a bad job now, is he? Over in PSG. So you don't always know until a coach goes into a club. It needs to be the right coach and the right player. You need the right players to fit their mold, but also the club needs to be right. It needs to work for everyone all around. And obviously, we have our issues. We're all well aware of this.
I mean, that's why I think Ancelotti could work, because he's played in he's done the Premier League. You know, it's the Premier League. He didn't do too bad at Everton. He's done amazing things at Real Madrid. But obviously, you know, he's not available. He's not going to leave Real Madrid to come to Tottenham, is he? I mean, let's face it, we're a poison chalice at the moment. Why would you come to Tottenham now if you're a manager?
Yeah, and even you couldn't give it to Mason because Matty Wells is head coach now, so he should get it offered first, because I think Mason's earmarked to leave the club and manage somewhere else, and he probably will get in a manager's job next season.
I hope Mason does leave and go somewhere else, because from what I've heard about him, I think he seems to be quite a decent manager and coach at a young age, but he's
right being rated, but then you've got to go and prove it.
Yeah, Tottenham, he's just like, no, your career's being ruined, mate. Go somewhere else. Go and find another club.
The only thing I would say, he may not want to become a manager, because the amount of pressure and of your life that takes over, he might be happy having had the little bit of a taste of being actually being a coach.
Yeah,
because
true.
I mean, he'll be on peanuts, but he would have earned enough money in his career to be financially secure. So, we don't know. He might be that he does want to, go down that route and become a manager. In which case, because there was talk, he was linked with a club, wasn't he, last summer, or a couple of clubs?
He was, yeah. It was a Belgian club, wasn't it? I think was it a Belgian club,
right? Yeah,
so, I mean, something like that.
Yeah. It might be his family life is very settled where they are in North London. He might be happy to stay at the club as a coach, because I don't think he's a bad coach. I think he's getting a bad rep because of, again, we don't see the coaching. We don't know what they're told to do or whatever it is directly. It's really difficult. But this whole get rid of him, you can't just blame Ryan Mason because we're not playing well. There's much more to it than that.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not excited about that list of managers we're linked with. I'm not. I mean, to be honest, I haven't looked at Areola and Glasner that closely. I know Glasner was at Frankfurt. He won the UEFA League with Frankfurt, didn't he? They beat Rangers in the final, didn't they? Glasgow Rangers. Yeah.
I mean, Areola's is the latest Graham Potter, isn't it? Remember Graham Potter's flavour of the week? Right. So I personally don't see any change unless there's a complete change of owners and we pay the wages that attracts the players.
Well, there are no good managers in Brazil and Argentina then. I mean, I'd rather take a gamble. When Poch came in, he was unknown. He was a gamble. He wasn't the first choice.
It was, yeah, but did Levy strike lucky? I mean, didn't Levy want the guy who went to Man United, the Dutch guy? Yeah,
Van Gaal.
Couldn't get him.
I wanted him. Actually, you see, that might have been the wrong fit for Van Gaal. I mean, I like the way Ajax played when they come and beat us 1-0 at home, but then we got that wonderful win away, 3-2, didn't we? I like the way. I mean, I liked his football. I mean, look, he's moved into Man United and he's got a massive squad of players, and they're like, they're just such a poor mix together, aren't they? A bit like our squad's disjointed. Theirs is worse and bigger. Right, I want to know which one of you two's been leaking information at the club. In the chat, guys, who's the mole? Who's the mole out of these two? Is that you, Nita?
It could be anyone. It could be medical staff.
It could be Ben
there's so many
fake information, or David, because David's very he's a big Madison. He's in charge of the Madison Defence League, so it could be.
Well, he said it's not a player, didn't he? He said definitely not a player.
Which means he doesn't know.
It's not only medical information; it's tactical information as well. So that sort of rules out medical stuff, I guess.
Well, he couldn't say it was a player without naming them, could he?
No,
if he said it was one or three,
that could be a scout.
Even more trouble at the club.
It could be an agent doing it. There could be. There's so many variables. My interesting thing was we've narrowed it down.
Flora Manea, Dragason's agent. Yeah,
well, you wouldn't put it past him, would you?
You reckon Dragason's going to play for Real Madrid? Yeah, right.
You would worry that Dragason's agent had that much information at the club, wouldn't you? Really? So, I wouldn't want
the fact he's come out and said, "Oh, we've narrowed it down to who it is." To me, says they've got no idea who it is, and they're just trying to sort of smoke them out. So,
did someone say on another show today? They said, "Oh, they're willing to bet." I don't know if it's David Harris or Steve or Silver or one of the others said that. I can't remember which one that said, "Oh, they believe if they'd narrow it down to someone on the medical team because they're the ones under threat and they're the ones who would be the ones who bring out fake news about an injury."
Well, the medical staff will definitely be in the right place to say if a player's injured or not. But he did say it was tactical as well. So
yeah, and then he's left out the squad, which is
he's obviously got a bit of a tight hamstring, but is okay. Was okay to be on the bench on Thursday.
I mean, Mickey van der Ven was out for the rest of the season, but then that information was on Twitter on April the 1st. So,
Right, let's go on this guy, Vinny Vakashun. Good appointment. I mean, when I first see this name, I thought, what position does he play? Right, I feel like we're worried about adding someone to the admin. Right, what position does he play? He had 14 years at Arsenal. Did he? 14.
He's number 6, and he sits in the middle, controls things. I think that's the idea.
Look, I mean, does anyone really care? You know, they've been
with the fans.
Yeah, it's a football club. Who cares who the chief executive is, or I mean, look, okay, what I've heard about, and it's probably the same as you guys watching various streams. Apparently, he's very much into talking to the fans, and he likes the fans to have a voice. So that will be a good thing, I guess.
I'm not sure that will last very long when everyone starts moaning about Enoch.
Well, yeah, exactly, yeah. But at the end of the day, we've made these. We're getting this person in, that person, and Scott Munn's in. Who the hell's Scott Munn? Oh, he's been at Man City or whatever. Vinny. As I said, I heard he was from Arsenal. Then, as I said, the executive, the boards and that are very close between the two clubs. There's not that rivalry that I think we have as fans have. Who knows? Who knows what he's going to do? We just want someone that's got a knowledge of football. That's what we want. We want someone on the board who's got knowledge of football, that know what the hell they're doing. Because I don't think any of our board know what the hell they're doing football-wise. Business-wise, yeah, they're spot on. But football-wise, they haven't a clue. And, I mean, it does make me think of... I used to be able to say and spell the old Indian spinner Venkataraman. So there you go. That's the only thing that reminded me of when I saw his name.
Middlesex made an absolute hash today. Did you see they lost by 8 wickets?
We all have our angst with the club, me in particular. That is why I'm not renewing my season ticket for next season, no matter what. I just want to see. No, I want. Look, we'll come on to. We'll talk about it now a little bit of the transfer window. I mean, who here, even in the chat, thinks we're going to have a good transfer window? We need a lucky transfer window. That's all we can hope for. A lucky transfer window, because Levy sort of hinted the purse strings aren't really going to be loosened that much. Not there are a great deal of names of like Galacticos or marquee signings out there. I mean, name them. maybe Nico Williams, he's still at his club. And apart from him, where are they? There seems to be a lack of marquee signings out there. You'd say,
Nico Williams is not coming to Spurs, is he?
And you look at someone like Gyökeres. I mean, he was crap when he was at Coventry. He's doing all right in the Portugal League where there's plenty of room. That doesn't mean to say he's going to bash goals in because no one's gone in for him. So they're all umming and ahhing because they know what the Portuguese league's like. So
I just seriously think that it's going to need a major change. It's going to need, and to take the politics out of it, but you want some massive, the Qataris or the Arabians or whoever it might be, come in, take over the club, put lots and lots of money into it, offer players lots and lots of money to play for us, and then it'll still take a
you
few
don't need
years.
an absolute fortune. I mean, we've got the money to get 4 players in. If you only had 100 million to spend and you put 25 mil down on 4 players, you should be able to get 4 quality players for that.
Well, we need quality now, don't we?
Basuma, you're going to get at least 60 million for those 2. One because Basuma.
No,
John,
you're dreaming, Adrian.
No, I'm not.
No one's going to give us this report say Everton give us 40 million. The guy can't stay fit. We're getting a loan for Richie.
Well,
and we might get 20 million for Basuma.
20 million, maybe. Yeah.
You've got 8.5 million, about 13 million coming from Højbjerg's got to be paid for it, and Gil, right?
Yeah,
but then you look without Romero, who would go for money. If you look at Richarlison, it's not the fact to me that we rate him and value him highly at Spurs because the fans don't, and they'll undervalue him like they do a lot of players who haven't produced. But the point is, you look at the number 9 market. Arsenal need a number 9, Chelsea need a number 9, right? They ain't coming for Richarlison, right? They need him. Everton, Calvert-Lewin won't sign a new contract. He's going. They're going to need a number 9. It's not what he's worth, it's the market. I mean, there's a shortage of number 9s. Someone will pay money for Richarlison, even if it's 30 mil with 10 million add-ons or whatever. You'll get that for him. If you went to Saudi, you'd get 50, 60 for him, right? And the same with Basuma. Palace are interested in Basuma. Other teams have shown interest in Basuma. But they're probably teams that pack their midfield and where Basuma might shine. They know they can get a tuner. They know he's technically good. So I know he is in the last year of his contract come the summer. So you might get I'd expect to get 15 mil for Basuma. We only paid 25 for him, didn't we?
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. I think with Richarlison, it's interesting. I see a medical professional for some of my running injuries who used to actually work at Spurs part-time a few years ago. And he's an Everton fan. And we talked about Richarlison quite a lot. And he told me that season before he joined us, obviously Richarlison basically kept Everton up, didn't he? That run, when he had the flare in his hand when he scored against Chelsea.
Yeah.
And he played through injuries and basically broke himself. And that's why he can't stay fit for us. He shouldn't have played, but he did it because he wanted to keep Everton up, and fair play to him for that. If we can get 20 million for him, even if it's after a year loan or something, that'll be amazing business, because I think we got done on that one basically.
Yeah, I think Richarlison's got to go. Basuma's got to go. I mean, we don't have. I mean, if you
know Werner's going, we know Forster's going. That's 4.
Yeah, and that's fair enough.
We're not weak in the goalkeeping department.
What worries?
We need a left back. We need a number 9, a quality striker. You could see we could. Dan will laugh if I mention Vladovic's name again, but I mean, you could go and get in. Jonathan David's done okay. I'm not sure about him. And then we link with Angel Gomez because he's on a free transfer as well.
Yeah.
What worries me is the fact that I think in Bergvall and Gray and possibly Mikey Moore, we've got some, and on Spence, we've got 4 really good players there, I think, but we're going to lose them. We're going to lose them if we don't improve what we're doing over the next couple of seasons. They're going to go because another team's going to.
Well, Spence just signed a new contract. Bergvall and Gray are on long contracts anyway. They'll be on the.
But they'll go. They'll go because money talks.
Well, they'll go if they're allowed to go. It's like Romero as well. He's under contract. He's down to 2 years in the summer. If he doesn't sign a new contract, I like the player, but you sell him. If he's not going to sign a contract, you sell him. But other than that, if you want it to be awkward as a club, you can hold a player to his contract, and if Real Madrid are in for Moreira or Saliba or someone else, or looking for a cheaper option, because they tend to spend their big bucks on sexy Galacticos, don't they, rather than on defenders and that. Then if you make them wait, they might be forced to move in the market, and then Romero don't get his move next season. So we don't know. I mean, like, if he doesn't want to sign, I'd sell him, and I want him to stay at the club because I think, my opinion, he's our best defender. But others
I'm resigned to Romero going, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, so am I.
But Bergvall, I think Bergvall, he potentially, we've got a player there, but you need other experienced players to go alongside him.
Yeah, but I don't think any of them would go now. I get where you're coming from. But see who we bring in the transfer window. What we need to do is it's the midfield. Most games are won and lost in midfield. They're a link between the defence and attack. If the midfield's pants, you're not going to win many games playing long ball football, right? So if we can stiffen that midfield up, so we've got options there where players can be more consistent, I think everything improves in this team.
But for every skillful player you have in the midfield, you need a fixer in there as well. Hoddle was the most gifted player I've ever seen. Yeah. But you had your Graham Roberts in the midfield to protect him. You need that balance. And at the moment, I don't think we've got that. Maybe Højbjerg was. No,
we've got too many passive players.
Yeah, you need that. We need I hate to say this. We need a
and we don't have
Steven Gerrard, Roy Keane, Vieira. Go back to the old Tottenham teams. Graham Roberts, Dave Mackay. Yeah. These are the sort of players that we need. I'm not saying they're all readily available. They're probably quite rare, but
today showed we haven't got the depth in midfield. That showed we haven't got the depth. You need.
If you remember, do you remember when Man United, I think, played in the semi-final of the Champions League, and I think Roy Keane got booked, which meant he'd missed the final, and yet what a performance by Roy Keane in that game! I think it might have been away at somewhere. He was absolutely brilliant, and he got them through to the final, even though he knew he wasn't going to play in the final. And we haven't got that player at the moment, and that's what I think we need.
Talking about finals, I watched this game. I've watched all the under-21 games last year, but I haven't know much about the under-17s. I know about Sam Archer, the goalkeeper, who didn't play in this final. I know about Williams Barnett because he's already scored 2 goals from the halfway line this season, but he got a hat-trick in this game. It wasn't easy, as the scoreline shows here, this game. Charlton put up a good fight. They're in the lower league to this, and they knocked out some Arsenal and Man United or something before they get into the final themselves. And then our youngsters, they stepped up for this game. And there's a guy who plays on the left, Thompson, a left winger. He looks good. And it's always the sexy players that sort of stand out, when you're watching, And Barnett does look a talent, though, Williams Barnett. He does look a talent.
Yeah, he's a big lad, isn't he? As well, which sometimes that can give you a bit of a false image, because if they are physically bigger at that age, they may not be when they get into the adults game. So they then have to learn.
Some of the defenders are big lads as well. And what I liked about Barnett was that goal he took when he sort of just sidestepped the keeper. He's composed as well and got vision. He looks a talent, but you never know. We'll see with him. We'll see. These are our upcoming fixtures to the end of the season, guys. And we've got, comments on that? Anyone? Frankfurt away, it's a must-win. Or a win on
the penalty. I don't fancy winning any.
Can't see where the points
that's Bank Holiday Monday, isn't it?
Villa might get moved because that's FA Cup final weekend. So if they obviously beat Palace, then that'll get moved to the midweek. Probably depends if we're still in Europe or not, because I can't quite remember. I think the Europa League is before the Brighton game. I think so. That would, if we managed to get to the final, that would work in our favour.
It is, yes, in the week before. Yeah.
I mean, at Forest at home, and then the Liverpool away game might be the game they need to win to clinch the title, because they need 2 wins. So not a good time to go to
That's 3 points they got.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like Liverpool need any more motivation against us, is it? I mean, they're going to score 4. That's what they always do against
Unless
us.
Arsenal lose their next game, and then the next game they win a league. But I don't know what Arsenal have got to play. I don't particularly care.
Yeah, we could do with them having won the league already, because then they might be partying and lay off us a little bit. I can dream, can be naive and hope, but it probably won't happen, will it?
I'm going to
unless Ipswich do a miraculous 7 games or last six games, none of these games are really that important.
Yeah, basically they're on 21 points, so they can get to 39. We're on 37 points, but our goal difference is plus 11, and theirs is minus 34.
Yeah.
So based on that, we need 1 point to beat them in goal difference.
Well, I think it's probably more likely that we won't get that point than it is Ipswich winning all their last 6 games.
Yeah. So Frankfurt away. I mean, I think I'm going to go in depth with it on Tuesday's show, but I think we know that I think the midfield's going to be Bentancur, Madison, and I actually think Kulu will play on the wing in this game. I think he'll start on the right wing.
I can't see us winning. I really can't.
I can if Kulu plays.
Maybe I'm saying that as a reverse psychology, but
because
just in case the players are listening.
Well, if Kulu plays,
I don't mind
Madison
that.
will play, but if Kulu plays, and he usually plays as the battering ram up front, I can see Bentancur.
Right, we've got to hold on to the ball.
Yeah,
we need to have an out ball.
Right, I can see Bergvall starting on the bench, and I can see Bentancur, Kulu, and Madison being in the midfield. And Bentancur will sit.
I think if Kulu starts, I think I'd have him playing right wing, to be honest. And I'd play Bergvall, but you can't all second guess Ange, can you?
That would be probably the most attack-minded way to go with Kulu on the right, because he will track back, and Porro looks like he'll start. So we've got to go for it. So at least he'll track back and help Porro out. So
I'd rather see Spence and Udogie because I think Spence is a better defensive player than Porro, and we're going to have to defend a bit.
I think Spence will start on the bench and will go for the physicality of Udogie.
I agree with that. What I'm saying is that at right back, I think you should start with Spence.
Udogie was just started to show signs against Frankfurt that he's getting his mojo back. I mean, he could go backwards. But
it's not a bad shout playing Spence at right back, although he's not actually he's only played a couple of games at right back. He's not looked brilliant, weirdly. He's looked better at left back, which is strange. But Porro defensively is suspect.
Yeah, exactly. Which is fine. It's fine when you're at Tottenham, but in this game, no.
Yeah.
I'm going to get the final thoughts of the panel, and then we'll wrap up. But before we do that, I just want to say, there's 83 of you viewing us, probably most of you on XCOM. I want to thank all you viewers. I want to especially thank all you that can bother to come in the chat, especially after another defeat. Thank my guests for being brave enough to come on after a defeat as well. But we have to put the shows out no matter what. We go out just to let you know, anyone new that's watching us, they do shows on Tuesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. The Tuesday and Sunday show goes out at 9 o'clock in the UK, and the Friday show goes out at 10 o'clock in the UK, because we like to attract American and Canadian and Southern Hemisphere viewers as well. We do have a Facebook group for those of you interested. It's been going well. I started that when the stadium opened in 2019. It's got about 14,500 members on it. It's a very active group, actually, but I don't think too many of them are interested in social media that we're on here now. On XCOM, you can find me on XCOM under my name. We got 3,200 on there, I think, in our first year.
Call it Twitter.
Twitter or whatever. And we've got, let me hide this. Right, my name's up here now. So you can find me under my name here. On XCOM, if you're interested in that sort of types of social media. I mainly go there on posts. I don't get involved in any toxic stuff, so I just go there to post, basically put information out there. And we started a Facebook page, which is under 300 members on it at the moment, but the Facebook page is because this show will go out live on Facebook. That's why we got the page. So that's all well and good. So I thank you all, and I especially want to thank and give a big up to all those who actually bother to watch us on playback, because I just think that's amazing when people actually make the time to come and watch us on playback. So I thanked everyone apart from God and everyone else. So I'll let my guests have the final word, and we'll wrap up, and we'll be back on Tuesday. So, John, you got anything to final words, or where can we find you?
As I said, my daughters and my wife are in Argentina visiting my wife's granddad. Mm-hmm. I'm going to miss my youngest daughter's 6th birthday on Thursday. Oh. Now, she was born at 6:10 p.m. on the 17th of April, 2019. At 8 o'clock on that evening, a little game kicked off, which ended Manchester City 4, Tottenham Hotspur 3.
Wow.
Mm.
Wow.
Right. So she was born that, just less than 2 hours before that amazing night. And I got back to this living room and we were 4-3 down. I was thinking we were 4-2 because I turned the radio off on the way home. And then it was 4-3 by the time I got here. And then Sterling scored.
You ain't his handball, yeah?
And I was on the floor. And then obviously VAR ruled it out. But my point is, we've gone backwards for over 6 years because the club was sliding a bit at that point. We didn't have a great league season, did we? It was a bit on the way. And the club really, really needs to try and stop this slide that's continuously gone for 6 years. And it's time for, and maybe this is why we've got the new CEO coming in, hopefully, because they've tried to make a lot of changes in the last year. Some don't appear to be doing anything, but I think they are trying. Ultimately, we need investment because Daniel Levy is not a rich man. He doesn't have the money to put in. Joe Lewis obviously isn't interested. So they've got to sort out this investment, which was mentioned over a year ago when the accounts came out. Why it's taken so long.
You need good recruitment. It's not about how much you spend, because we spent $1 billion.
All of it. Yeah, I agree.
$1 billion and 27 since the stadium's open. But actually, because we sold players, Kane and all that, the net spend was 699 million. When I did it on Transfer Market, I got all the facts. So the net spend is 700 million since the stadium's open, but it actually is over $1 billion. It's $1 billion and 27 million, believe it or not. So we've wasted so much money.
We've wasted so much money. Absolutely, I agree with that. Yes,
but I believe we've failed better with what are called failed better in the transfer market and the recent ones. And we need to be shrewd in the market. We need to, our recruitment needs to be good, because we're not going to go out and spend 60 odd million on players again. We might do it on one number 9 if there was one available. But I don't.
We did that last summer.
Well, no, because if you're spending 60 million on say Una, if you spend 60, he's got a release clause. They say it's 60. If you're spending that, you can go and get Vlahovic and Fratesi for that same amount of money. So I know where I'd go, right? But it's a wait and see, isn't it? I'm not. And the reason I'm not prepared to part with this transfer shit no more. So that's why I'm not renewing my season ticket.
Right. My closing comments. I'd like to thank Ange for trying to change things at Tottenham and for trying to play decent attacking football. Unfortunately, it didn't work out because my own personal opinion is that I think in the Premier League there are too many decent teams. And it just wasn't. I don't like using the word out of depth, but it just wasn't viable in the Premier League. What I will say is that I think some of the vitriol and anger and just plain out abuse that he's got has been absolutely disgraceful from our fan base.
Yeah,
calling him a fat Aussie C word. And I think you can say I don't think he's a very good coach. That's fine. But some of the abuse he's got online has been absolutely disgraceful. And I'm ashamed as a Tottenham fan to have seen that. Maybe that's the lefty humanist hippie in me coming out. I don't know. But it's been absolutely disgraceful.
Well, no. It is anyway. But it's just the way things are nowadays with social media. You never had it back in the day.
At the end of the day,
he didn't have all this social media.
At the end of the day, he's a football coach that's had success all around the world, but the Premier League was probably one step too far.
Yeah,
and if he goes in the summer, I'm behind that. It hasn't worked, but at least he gave it a go. So that's what I want to say about that. Anyway,
yeah, I'm sure I'm like most fans. My Spurs core has always been, when I was brought up, that you supported the team and you supported all the players and all the managers while they're at the club. Once they left, whether you liked them or not, and we've all disliked managers at this club, we've all disliked players at this club. We didn't boo them off the field. We didn't do any of that, right?
exactly.
We might have some rubbish at the end of a game or something like that, but we didn't actually sort of direct that. That's like cursing under your breath. We did, but and that was it, and that was your Spurs core. But like so you just, to me, I'll never do it. I'll never do it because it's just not me. I don't do the hate. Basically, I just don't do it because life goes on, and these things will sort themselves out for good or bad with players and managers at your club, and they will come and go in your lifetime, and loads will come and go. Who you like is who you like. Who you don't like, you don't like. But you don't give them abuse. I mean, like even Brennan Johnson was taking a hell of a lot of abuse before he scored that goal away in the League Cup against Coventry. I mean, how do you expect a player to turn it around and play well for you if you're going to give them that sort of abuse? Personally, they should be banned. Players should be banned from using social media, in my opinion, because you're in a no-win situation. You really are, because you've got to play. You've got to give a worldly performance every day of the week, not to get criticism. And I just don't think it's right. It's definitely not fair, So, and like it's trolls behind keyboards, they're the biggest cowards under the sun, as far as I'm concerned. So, John, anything else? Or
no, well, I've just responded to Audio Artisan's comment saying Solanke, Son, the Scarlet, and the Irish kid will be our strike force next season. Melia won't join until next January when he turns 18 in September, so he can't join until the following window.
Yeah, you've got to be 18. It's same with Vaskovic, who was 18 in February, so they couldn't be added to the squad in January.
I don't think
he will
see
be in the squad.
I don't think we'll see a lot of Mason Melia in that January to May next season. It'll be more of a case of him coming in and getting his, getting used to it, and maybe in future years. But people thought we saw more of Alfie Devine, and I'm not sure he's going to make it at Spurs now, unfortunately.
Yeah, because he lost a year at Portsmouth, didn't he? Because they changed managers, wasn't it? It was Portsmouth or Plymouth?
No, Devine was at Plymouth. He went to Port Vale, did really well, then went to Plymouth, and now he's at Westerlo. But he's been injured, isn't he?
Yeah. Right, guys, I want to thank my guests for braving it tonight after another loss. And I want to thank you all again, all of you that are watching and viewing and put your questions in and comments in. Been fantastic. And we still got 8 of you viewing us, really, but we haven't really got nothing else to talk about. So I'm going to play you out with this, and I'll see you guys in the back room.